Hey guys, welcome back to East Providence, and this week primarily site work going on. Last time we were here we gave you a full walkthrough. We were also talking about the cedar shingle install, but we were talking about the driveway, and oddly enough, even though it was the first thing we talked about in that video, a bunch of you guys still had questions at what was going on. You can see we brought some fill in here, bring this up, and then we'll start compacting it in preparation for the ramped driveway to the street. Now, obviously, if we're about, 2.5 feet elevation change from here to here, we are going to have some retainage to deal with, or retaining walls to deal with. But overall, this grade is coming up and you're going to be ramped towards the street, which is great for drainage. You want everything to be draining away from the home rather than towards it, especially being that on this site, early on, we realized that there's a lot of ledge. So we don't want that water to be sitting up against the house, then getting trapped against the ledge. Despite all of our waterproofing efforts, it's best practice to get everything pitched away from the house. So starting with the driveway, you can see how this is going to pitch from garage door down to the street. And then, like I said, we're gonna have some retaining walls on either side. And then in future, we're gonna have this staircase on the right side of the home. Now, we got our electrical service in. We have a low voltage conduit for cable and internet, and then we have a spare as well. So that's all prep. We're just waiting for the power company to come and hook us up and give us full permanent power. But this stair here, we've talked about this detail before, but you can essentially see where the grade is going to come up, and then our stair is going to come down. We'll have a small landing and then come down again, and then we'll get to our final elevation here. But we still have this big drop right here. If you look down, you see a 6-inch white PVC pipe. That collects the drainage that was installed around the entire home, as well as the interior perimeter drain. And all of that water is going to come out, and then we've been collecting rock from the site, and we'll actually have a rock garden down here. And what that is, or a rain garden, you may call it, basically just allowing you to recharge the water back into the groundwater without having this washout. So that will all collect into that rock garden. And then there will be a retaining wall here, which Julia is actually going to be putting together back with some of the natural stone that was once here, and then restructure that grade. So this grade will have a drastic change here. Really cool detail on that wall is all of these stones where the steps are. Those stones are actually let into the wall, so they cantilever out. We wanted to protect that from the beginning of construction, and it's nice to see that now as we're nearing the end of site work, it's still there. It will be a nice way to get down there. One thing I do want to note is we actually had backfilled this, and all of this has been ripped up again because we had mistakenly put together some of the piping that was set for the drainage. This area actually got ripped out. We had to redo it. It was something that we talked about early on. It was something that we actually caught in our daily logs. We saw it in the daily logs, realized it was different, but it was already backfilled at that point. So we talked to Julia and said, listen, when we get our contractor back on site, we'll dig this up, we'll correct things. And essentially it wasn't a big mistake, but it was it was basically a fitting that you wouldn't direct the water to go in a particular direction. And we were worried that, all of that water would collect kind of in one spot and then possibly backflow into underneath the footing or into the system rather than free flow all the way to that 6-inch. Actually, another thing that we missed was the second layer of insulation, so you can kind of see all of this new Rockwool. So our site guy ripped this back. We got our second layer of the Rockwool insulation on the foundation wall here. And the primary reason we needed it and wanted it on this wall is because this is just a 4-foot frost wall. Being in Rhode Island, we do have a 4-foot frost, but we want to make sure that we're protecting that concrete foundation wall from the extreme cold. You guys have been asking us for the detail for the foundation for months now. We're still up in the air. This is in Julia's court. We've looked at a couple different options from mechanically fastened systems. We talked about using a board product. Rockwool does have an approved stucco version. The concern with the stucco is that stucco is not designed to go below grade. So one of our recommendations was to do stucco and just have it 3 inches below grade, where you're not, and using a synthetic one. But still, that is to be determined. So I know you guys want to know the answer to that. As soon as we know, we will share with you guys. This here, it is temporary, because I know you're going to see that as we walk through. That will actually be tied into the downspout that is actually buried in the wall from here all the way up to our soffit. You can actually see, if you look above, there's a custom piece of sheet metal square downspout that is buried into that soffit, and that connects to our gutter detail that's integrated into the fascia, and that actually goes to a downspout all the way down to here. We just have to set a double 22.5 degree fitting here to tie that in, and that will tie into the system that goes back to the rain garden. The biggest scope of work that we're working on right now is this. So why are we doing this mass excavation on the left side of the home? Well, this is actually for a future retaining wall and staircase. So right on that corner, you see that white PVC protecting the outside corner of the shingle. We're actually going to have a concrete retaining wall up to basically that bottom of the shingle course and coming over, and that's going to help hold back the upper level so we can then grade this lower level, you know, closer to one elevation, but it's also going to hold a switchback stair. So right on the corner of this, or right on the end of this deck where that corner window is, we're gonna have a staircase that comes down to a landing, all cast in concrete, and then come back down to grade. The future detail of that is going to be a natural stone, but right now the goal is to get that cast in place concrete foundation wall, retaining wall, as well as the staircase in place so we can get our grading done. That means we can we can start to consider pulling down our construction fence because the site will be safe. We also have our staircase done, which means we can then order our stainless steel railing that we're working on with View Rail. They're prepared for all the straight stuff. We just need to nail down the details on the staircase so they can fabricate all of the staircase handrails. And once those are in place, then the site is fully secured and we can start detailing the landscape out and getting the outside looking nice. After we do that, that's when we'll shift our focus to the inside. So it's a little bit, while we know we can be working on the inside now, you know, between Julia and us, we've decided to focus on getting the outside done, complete, get it looking nice for the neighborhood, and then we're going to shift our attention to the inside. And we'll share more about the inside details. Julia's come up with a really cool backsplash design that actually looks very similar to the shingle on the side of the house, which is cool. But you have to stay tuned for a future episode to see all that. Thanks for tuning in.